Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that may hit you hard, but it's one you need to hear. Life doesn't care about your excuses. It responds only to your actions, your will, and your mental toughness. Mental toughness is not a gift. It's not inherited. It's not reserved for the few. It is built brick by brick, thought by thought, decision by decision. And today, I'm here to tell you how you can build it, not just to survive, but to become unstoppable. Everything begins with identity. The way you see yourself determines what you will attempt, what you will endure, and ultimately what you will achieve. Mental toughness starts the moment you decide who you are. Really decide. Not based on what others have told you, not based on your past failures, not based on your current circumstances, but based on your inner conviction of who you can be and who you must become. Most people never build mental toughness because they've never made that decision. They drift through life reacting instead of acting, identifying with weakness instead of choosing strength. You have to choose your identity with intent. You must say to yourself, this is who I am now, and then act accordingly. That decision becomes a blueprint for your behavior. If you see yourself as someone who never quits, then quitting becomes impossible. If you see yourself as someone who always finds a way, then obstacles become fuel. The problem is, many people unconsciously accept a limited or damaged identity. They wear old labels, like scars. I'm not good under pressure. I always mess things up. I'm not mentally strong. These are not facts. They are stories, and you have the power to rewrite them. To develop true mental toughness, you must first build an identity that supports it. This means intentionally shaping the words you use about yourself, the people you surround yourself with, and the goals you set. You begin telling yourself a different story. I do hard things. I thrive in discomfort. I am unshakable. At first, it may feel unnatural. But identity isn't formed by a moment of belief. It's forged through consistent action aligned with that belief. Every time you act in accordance with who you want to become, you reinforce that identity. Over time, your mind accepts it. The shift is subtle at first, but then it becomes permanent. That new identity becomes the lens through which you see every challenge, and it changes the way you respond to pressure. The mentally tough don't wait for external validation or ideal circumstances. They lead with their identity. When you know who you are, you don't have to second-guess every decision. You operate from certainty, not hesitation. You choose the hard path without needing applause or approval. You wake up every day with a mindset that says, this is what I do, because this is who I am. When you decide to pursue something meaningful, you must eliminate the option of turning back. That is what it means to burn the boats. It's a mindset that says, I will succeed or I will die trying, but I will not retreat. This kind of total commitment is what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. Mental toughness is not developed by keeping one foot in comfort and the other in challenge. It's built by cutting off escape routes and forcing yourself to go all in. When there's no way out, the only way is forward. And that's when your real power shows up. Most people fail because they leave themselves too many options. They say they want to succeed, but they also want to stay safe. They say they're committed, but they keep the back door unlocked just in case things get tough. That mentality creates hesitation, doubt, and weakness. The mind can't fully engage when part of it is still negotiating with fear. But when you burn the boats, your mind has no choice but to adapt, to solve, to fight, and to overcome. That's how mental toughness is developed, through the pressure of full commitment and the refusal to settle. Burning the boats is not about being reckless. It's about removing the temptation to quit. It's about removing the plan B that silently undermines your focus and steals your energy. When quitting is not an option, everything inside you begins to align. Your thoughts become sharper, your decisions bolder, and your efforts more consistent. You stop entertaining failure as a final outcome and begin using it as feedback. You stop looking for the easy way and start looking for the only way. This principle applies to every area of life, your health, your career, your relationships, your goals. If you're serious, you have to go beyond trying. You have to decide. You have to say, this is not a test. This is who I am, and there is no turning back. That level of intensity transforms ordinary people into extraordinary performers. It activates a survival level intensity that most people never access because they never commit with that level of certainty. Burning the boats forces you to show up differently. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop looking for signs. You stop seeking permission. You take full ownership of the mission, and that alone makes you mentally tougher than 99% of the world. Every person who develops true mental toughness has walked through pain, not around it, not over it, but straight through it. Hardship is not a detour on the path, it is the path. Most people misunderstand struggle. They see it as a sign to stop, as evidence that they're doing something wrong, or that maybe they're not cut out for the challenge. But the mentally tough see struggle differently. They understand that pressure is a test and also a teacher. It doesn't just reveal who you are, it reveals who you're becoming. When you face adversity, your mind is placed under stress and it must choose, shrink or strengthen. Every time you endure discomfort with purpose, your threshold expands. The things that once rattled you start to feel routine. The chaos that used to overwhelm you becomes manageable. You adapt because you're forced to. You grow because the situation demands it. That's what hardship does when you refuse to run from it. It forges you, not in comfort, not in convenience, but in the fire of resistance. People want results, but they resist the process that produces those results. They want strength without struggle, growth without pain, and confidence without confrontation. But mental toughness only comes through resistance. It's built by getting up after failure, staying calm under pressure, pushing forward when your body and mind are screaming to stop. It's easy to act strong when things are easy, but that's not where the transformation happens. You get sharper in the storm. You get stronger in the grind. Discomfort becomes your training ground. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to reinforce your resolve. The moment you stop avoiding difficulty and start embracing it, you step into a new level of control. Instead of fearing hard times, you start to seek them, because you know that the only way to rise is through resistance. You begin to welcome the days that stretch you, because you understand they are shaping you into someone who does not bend, does not break, and does not back down. When you learn to endure hardship on purpose, when you see it as essential rather than optional, you unlock a mindset that very few ever find. You stop hoping for ease and start preparing for impact. The storm becomes your training, and adversity becomes the gym where your mental toughness is carved into stone. The single most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. That inner dialogue is constant. It runs in the background of every decision, every reaction, every moment of pressure. And the quality of that conversation determines the quality of your life. Mental toughness begins with mastery over the voice inside your head. The challenge is that for most people, that voice is not a coach. It's a critic. It whispers doubt, fear, hesitation, and negativity. It exaggerates failure and downplays progress. It convinces you to stop when you should keep going. But here's the truth. That voice can be trained, and it must be trained. The mentally tough do not allow their minds to run unchecked. They interrupt weak thoughts with stronger ones. When the voice says, "You can't handle this," they respond with, "Watch me." When the voice says, "You're not ready," they replied, "I'll get ready by taking action." Mental toughness isn't about never hearing doubt. It's about deciding not to obey it. You don't silence the inner critic by ignoring it. You override it with something more powerful, deliberate, intentional self-talk rooted in truth and belief. Your mind is always listening. Every word you speak about yourself, internally or externally, becomes a command. If you constantly tell yourself that you're tired, overwhelmed, or incapable, your body will follow. But if you tell yourself that you're focused, resilient, and built for challenges, you begin to program yourself for persistence and grit. That's not fantasy, it's neuroscience. Thoughts create emotion. Emotions drive actions, and actions create results. Change the thought, and everything else follows. Training your inner voice is like training a muscle. It takes reps. It takes consistency. You start with intentional language. You replace vague, passive phrases with powerful, assertive ones. I hope becomes I will. Maybe becomes definitely. You eliminate language that weakens you and replace it with language that energizes you. You begin to speak as the person you want to become. And through repetition, you begin to believe it. That belief builds momentum. It fuels effort. It reinforces your identity. The mentally tough treat self-talk as a tool, not a default. They use it to reset in moments of stress, to refocus in moments of doubt, and to rise in moments of fatigue. Every time they override that inner resistance, they carve a stronger path in their mind. That's how resilience is built, thought by thought, word by word, until the inner voice becomes an ally instead of an enemy. Discipline is the backbone of mental toughness. While motivation is fleeting and unreliable, discipline is steady, dependable, and always available if you choose it. People often wait to feel motivated before they act. They wait for inspiration, for energy, for the right mood to strike. But those who are mentally tough don't wait. They act regardless of how they feel. They understand that success doesn't respond to moods. It responds to consistency. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't want to do it, especially when you don't want to do it. Motivation is like a spark. It's bright, exciting, but short-lived. Discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire burning long after the spark has died out. It's what keeps you going on the days when you're tired, bored, frustrated, or discouraged. The mentally tough have trained themselves to show up under any condition. They've separated action from emotion. They know that whether or not they feel like it is irrelevant. The work gets done because the commitment was made. That's the standard they live by. This kind of discipline doesn't come naturally. It has to be built. It's built every time you make a hard choice when an easy one is available. It's built every time you choose to stay focused instead of distracted, to say no instead of yes, to push forward instead of back off. These decisions seem small in the moment, but they compound. Over time, they create a mindset that doesn't need to be convinced to act, it just acts. That's the power of discipline. It becomes automatic. You don't need willpower every single day when your habits are aligned with your values. Mentally tough individuals take pride in their ability to do hard things without needing to be hyped up. They find strength in the routine. They treat discipline as a muscle, one that gets stronger each time it's exercised. The alarm goes off and they get up. The deadline looms and they deliver. The challenge appears and they lean into it. Not because they always want to, but because they've trained themselves to operate beyond want. This kind of behavior builds confidence. Every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you are someone who keeps promises. That self-trust is the root of mental toughness. Discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. It frees you from chaos, from inconsistency, from regret. Persistence, without exception, is what separates those who reach the top from those who simply wish they could. It means you keep going, not just when it's easy or when you feel inspired, but every single time, regardless of the circumstances. It means there is no option to quit, no excuse big enough, no delay long enough to derail your forward motion. Mental toughness is not proven when things are going well. It's revealed in the moments when everything seems to be working against you. That's when persistence becomes your greatest weapon. It's the decision to show up day after day, no matter how you feel, until the goal is done. Most people stop short. They start with energy. But when progress slows, when setbacks come, when praise disappears, they fade out. They confuse effort with endurance. But effort is temporary. Persistence is a mindset. It's not about intensity and short bursts. It's about consistency over time. The mentally tough understand that the process takes longer than expected, costs more than you planned, and demands more than you thought you had. And yet they keep going, not out of blind optimism, but because they've trained their minds to finish what they start. Persistence without exception means that excuses are off the table. There is no, "I'll do it later." No, "I wasn't feeling it today." No, "It's not working fast enough." The mentally tough do it anyway. They show up when it's boring, when it's painful, when no one is watching, when there's no guarantee of results. Especially then, that's when character is built. That's when habits are solidified. That's when greatness is born. Exit 1, 3, 2, 1. This kind of persistence creates internal power. You stop needing external rewards to keep going because you know that momentum comes from action, not the other way around. You keep pushing not for immediate gratification, but because the act of persistence itself is shaping you into someone unbreakable. It becomes less about the outcome and more about proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who never backs down. Mental toughness thrives in the space between hesitation and execution. Every time you choose to take immediate action instead of overthinking, you reinforce your ability to lead yourself. That leadership builds strength, and strength builds momentum. It doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be deliberate. A rough start is always better than standing still. Waiting for motivation leads to delay. Taking action leads to progress. Progress, no matter how small, creates a sense of movement, and movement generates belief. When you act, you learn. When you learn, you adapt. When you adapt, you grow. That cycle is only possible if you start. The mentally tough understand that momentum compounds. One disciplined action makes the next one easier. One act of courage reduces the fear of the next. The mind gets trained to respond with motion, not with doubt. Eventually, this becomes who you are. Not someone who waits, but someone who initiates. And that identity shift becomes a foundation for unshakable resilience. Every action sends a signal to your subconscious, either that you're in charge or that you're a passenger in your own life. The more you act, the stronger that signal becomes. The mentally tough build momentum not just to get things done, but to stay mentally sharp. Stagnation breeds anxiety and self-doubt. Movement builds confidence, not because every step is perfect, but because every step proves you're not frozen. This is how goals are achieved, not through one massive effort, but through consistent, focused action that gathers speed over time. The breakthrough doesn't come from waiting for the right mindset. It comes from doing the right thing right now until your mind catches up and momentum carries you forward with force. Mental toughness is not something you turn on for a big moment and then forget. It's not a switch you flip when life gets hard or when the stakes are high. It's a mindset you carry into every part of your life every day. It's a way of thinking, responding, and behaving that becomes second nature through repetition. The mentally tough don't act tough. They are tough because they've trained themselves to be. It's who they are, not just what they do when it's convenient. The mindset is lived, not performed. This level of toughness is built through consistent choices. It's built in the ordinary, not the dramatic. It's in getting out of bed when you don't feel like it, showing up when no one's watching, following through when distractions are everywhere. Every choice becomes a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Over time, those choices hardwire a mental framework that doesn't depend on emotions or motivation. It runs on values, standards, and non-negotiables. You stop negotiating with yourself, you stop waiting to be in the mood, you stop giving yourself permission to take it easy when things get uncomfortable. Living the mindset daily means carrying discipline, resilience, and clarity into everything, from how you train your body to how you run your business, how you speak, how you manage your time, and how you deal with failure. It becomes a code, a standard that does not lower based on circumstances. You do the hard things, not because you have to in the moment, but because it's who you've trained yourself to be. Mentally tough individuals don't look for an escape when things get hard. They lean in because they've practiced leaning in. They don't crumble under pressure. They stay composed because they've trained that response over and over in the small moments that didn't seem to matter. That's what most people miss. It's not the big challenge that breaks you. It's all the little moments you let yourself off the hook. Living the mindset means those little moments matter just as much as the big ones. It's about alignment. Your actions match your goals. Your thoughts match your vision. Your standards stay the same whether you're alone or in front of the world. Mental toughness is not a temporary state you enter. It's a permanent lens you see life through, a discipline you carry with you in every situation.